13. Something we had to do. Emilia went to America and became a Christian. She was there for the summer as an au pair taking care of the Greskys triplets. The Greskys lived next door to the Hernandez family. Mrs. Hernandez, Elizabeth, became a substitute mother for Emilia. She was only 17 after all, and it was her first time away from her family. Elizabeth was a devout Catholic. She had been so shocked to learn that Emilia, from Italy, had not been raised with any faith whatsoever. When Emilia went back to Italy, she told her doggedly secular family that she wanted to join a convent. It was the last thing her family expected, having prided themselves on their defiant atheism and all-out rejection of superstitious religions for so many years. The Catholics had ruined Italy, they often said. The Pope and cardinals were sexist, homophobic hypocrites. But after arguing, crying, and praying, on Emilia's part, her parents, while they did not approve, agreed not to stand in her way. But even then, Emilia had been certain that they were hoping that her entire interest in taking vows and becoming a nun was just a form of rebellion that would end up being a passing phase. But Emilia knew it wasn't. She had grown up feeling as if she had been missing something her entire life. She remembered visiting historical sites throughout Italy on school field trips. Her favorites had always been the tombs, retreats, and chapels of saints. St. Francis of Assisi, St. Pudentiana, St. Margaret, St. Valentine, and St. Veronica. She remembered looking upon the nuns at the tombs and shrines with their rosary beads and their devoutly bowed heads. Emilia saw in them the same mysticism as Tibetan monks. She read about these women who had committed themselves to Christ, who would travel to the worst hellscapes in the world to provide service, love, and compassion to the poor and forgotten. They were unsung heroines, working in modesty, humility, and courage. Of course, courage. Emilia soon left for Our Lady of Sorrows convent. She ministered to Albanian refugees in the former Yugoslavia. She read to blind pensioners. She journeyed to Rome to see the Holy Father himself. She even went on missions to Chad, Sudan, India, East Timor, and Madagascar. Somehow, 35 years had passed, and she had lost touch with Elizabeth, whose devotion had initially inspired Emilia. They had written letters for many years, but it had been a long while since Emilia had received a response. She often thought of those great big American meals she'd had at the Hernandez home. Elizabeth would always prepare things that Emilia was less likely to have in Italy. Sometimes hot dogs, with a rainbow of green relish, red ketchup, and yellow mustard painted on them. But it was the Mexican food she liked the most. Tacos with spicy, steaming beef, melted cheddar, fresh tomatoes and peppers, enchiladas, and quesadillas. Even now, at the convent on her night to cook, Emilia would often prepare an American-style meal for her sisters. They had come to call her their Little American, although she prepared Mexican-style meals as often as she did American. But Emilia's English still had an American accent, so the name stuck. Emilia had some time off for a sabbatical and had decided to visit her friends in the States. She had written letters to old friends and acquaintances alike. Most had answered, except Elizabeth. This upset Emilia because Elizabeth was the type to write back promptly. In her last letter, Emilia had given Elizabeth explicit instructions. "Call me. I will be in my room between the hours of 12 and 4, your time, of course. I will do this every day until I hear from you." No call came on the first day, but Emilia was patient. On the third day, the phone rang. "Is this Emilia Ragazzi?" It was a deep voice, a man's voice. Yes, it is." "My name is Ronald Ceroli. I am Elizabeth Hernandez's brother." "Oh, yes, Mr. Ceroli. I am so thankful." "I'm calling because I got your letters, and I figured I should let you know that Elizabeth is now living in a home for people with Alzheimer's." "Oh, no. How long?" "She's been in assisted living for about 6 years now. I've been taking care of her affairs. It was just something we had to do." She had become confused and was wandering out at all hours of the night. She'd get lost and turn up in the strangest places. You wouldn't believe some of the places. We needed to put her somewhere she'd stay put. I had no idea. Well, you wouldn't, since you hadn't spoken in the last 10 years, so I gathered from your letters. My letters? I am her legal guardian. It's my responsibility to read all her mail. Oh. Amelia took a breath, feeling a bit exposed. She swallowed, trying to rally herself through her discomfort. What about her daughters? They're all up to their own things. They sometimes stop in and see her. Only one of them is not completely caught up in herself. Which one is that? Lydia, the youngest. She lives alone still, not too far from where her mother is staying. We had Elizabeth in a place in Weehawken, but it was too far from the rest of the family. Plus, she just wasn't happy there. Of course, she couldn't express that. She just jibber-jabbers now, but we could tell. So we moved her 3 years ago to this place by Lydia. We knew at least she would visit. Oh, what about Elizabeth's husband? Carlos? Well, then it's been a little longer than 10 years since you two talked, hasn't it? Amelia was quiet. Carlos divorced her about 15 years ago. She remarried after that, a guy named Frank, but he died of a heart attack. It was real tough on her. Real tough. Well, I didn't know. I was on a mission. Of course you were on a mission. All sisters have to do that, I guess. Well, not really. Where were you? A few places. Sudan, India, East Timor, and the last was Madagascar. Madagascar? Lot of titanium mines there. Could be a rich country someday. Titanium is used in everything from house siding to tennis shoes. It's the white coloring in them. Titanium is used for white dye. Isn't that something? I bet you didn't know that. But how do you know Elizabeth again? Wasn't she your godmother? My rite of Christian initiation sponsor. She lived next door to the family I was staying with when I was in au pair. Oh, that's right. I remembered your name right away. I believe Sister Gerald introduced you and me once, she said. Oh, right. I remember. Sister Gerald. I'd like to know what came of her. She's still living in Minnesota. I have received a few letters from her. She's still alive! Well, there's something. That's really something. Mr. Soroli, what is Elizabeth's condition now? Oh, well, she doesn't remember her daughters. She remembers me for about half a phone conversation. She can still play the piano, though. The doctors say she might retain that till the end. It's amazing, the human mind. What about Father Greenhall? I seem to remember... Wasn't he a bit of a flaky guy? There's no way he's still alive. He's passed on. I received a letter from the last parish where he was a pastor in Florida. That's too bad. Father Greenhall, that old son of a gun. The line cracked with a hum of static. Is Elizabeth leaving in New Jersey? Is that what you said? Amelia asked. Yes, she is. At least she should be there. Amelia took a deep breath. Well, I'm going to be in the States next month, and I was hoping to visit her. I was thinking of visiting Italy myself, Mr. Soroli said without answering her question. It would be nice if I knew someone over there, though. Maybe I could sleep on your couch. It's a private convent, I'm afraid. But there are hostels nearby, she said, twisting her rosary beads in her hand. She didn't even remember picking them up. So much for Christian charity, sister. Amelia was not sure what to say. No, Mr. Soroli, it's just the rules. I'm sure you understand. Don't worry. Don't mention it. I don't really have time for an Italy getaway. I'm too busy. Amelia swallowed before she asked, Do you think it would be possible for me to visit Elizabeth when I come to the States? Well, you can't do that. Why is that, sir? Are you taking a tone with me, sister? Wow, they don't make nuns like they used to, do they? Mrs. Soroni, I don't mean to offend. Soroli. My name is Soroli. It was Elizabeth's maiden name, you know. Or maybe you wouldn't. I didn't mean it would be inappropriate if you visited. I won't allow it. Now, Mr. Saroli, I appreciate your concern for your sister. I do, and I admire your devotion to her. Do you truly think my visit would upset her? I am sure. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have made this phone call. Mr. Saroli, this may be the last time I'm in the States for some time. Well, I'm sorry. A visit would just confuse her. As her legal guardian, I have to look after Elizabeth's welfare. Well, maybe I could have her address and write to her? I'm sorry, no. Just a letter? I'm the only one who gets her mail. Please, Mr. Saroli. I can see this is not working. What is not working? I'm sorry you don't understand. Goodbye. I'll keep her in my prayers. Keep us all there. It's a difficult job, keeping care of her and all. Hard on us all. He hung up. Emilia stood up, as if she had to go somewhere, but in her small quarters there was no room to pace. She went to the window. It was evening. The servers at the cafe below were rolling the kerosene heat lamps under the awning and chaining up the tables for the night. It would be too cold to let diners eat outside this evening. A group of children kicked a football in the piazza in front of the convent, sending the pigeons scattering into the air. They were children from all parts of the globe: Italy, Eastern Europe, refugees from North and West Africa. They played football with an abandon that she had seen in poor countries throughout the world. Not far away, Alberto, the homeless man who slept each night on the steps of the church, was taking up his place wrapped in his sleeping bag to beg the evening mass-goers for change. The football bounced from one child's foot to another's. Emilia felt like there was something she was supposed to be doing that she had forgotten. A wind picked up and turned over one of the tables in the cafes. Chairs skidded along the ground. The servers scrambled after them. Children shouted. Emilia buttoned her sweater tighter. She was cold. Winter was coming.